Have you ever been scrolling through commanders trying to figure out what to build next, and then it hits you? You should actually try violating the Geneva Conventions. Well, today, that's what we're going to be doing with Betor, and trust me, you aren't going to be able to see the direction this deck is going. Have you ever been scrolling through commanders trying to figure out what to build next, and then it hits you? You should actually try violating the Geneva Conventions. Well, today, that's what we're going to be doing with Betor, and trust me, you aren't going to be able to see the direction this deck is going. Today's commander is Betor Kin to All, a flying 5/7 commander for Abzan and 2 that says at the beginning of our end step, we check the toughness on our board and get an effect based on what we have. At 40, everybody loses half their life except for us. At 20, then we get to untap all of our creatures, but at 10, we get to draw a card. Now, this feels like a very great card to play in a Toughness Matters deck. And you know what? On a normal day, that is something that I would be doing. This feels like a great commander to do that with. Today we're playing Slivers. So did you know that there's a lot of different slivers that increase the amount of power and toughness on our board? And because there's so many slivers that do that, we get to abuse that fact and create a board state that is large enough for Betor to give us all of his effects. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the slivers we're going to be using. Watcher Sliver gives all of our slivers 0-2. Steel Form Sliver gives all of our slivers 0-1. Plated Sliver gives all of our slivers 0-1 as well. Predatory Sliver gives them all 1-1. Might Sliver gives them all 2-2. Rally the Ranks gives all of our creatures 1-1. Icon of Ancestry does the same thing and also gives us some draw power. Radiant Destiny and Lifecraft Engine give all of our slivers 1-1. Sinew Sliver gives all of our slivers 1-1. Tempered Sliver gives them 1-1 when they do combat shenanigans. Fungus Sliver gives them 1-1 when they get hit by combat shenanigans. Megantic Sliver gives them all 3-3. Muscle Sliver gives them all 1-1, and Adaptive Automaton gives them all 1-1. This means we can build a board of creatures that are nice and large and rotund that can harm our opponents. And slivers are a bit of an archenemy deck, so we need lots of ways to protect those slivers. So we've got a few ways of doing that. Poultice Sliver, Crypt Sliver, and Clot Sliver all give our slivers the ability to gain regeneration. Regeneration is not reanimation. Regeneration means that we replace an instance of them dying with them being tapped instead. Then we have the Salvation Colossus to make all of our creatures get +2/+2 and gain indestructible until end of turn whenever we attack. And then we have the Dredgescape Sliver, which gives all of our slivers Unearth so we can pull them back out of the graveyard if we need. We're also going to run a Leeching Sliver to give us a burn alternative win con, and we're going to be running a copy of Hivestone so that we can transform our own commander into a sliver so he will gain the benefits of all of our various sliver abilities. And slivers don't just give power, we also have Lancer Sliver to give them first strike, Sidewinder Sliver to give them flanking, Reflex Sliver to give them haste, Talon Sliver to give them first strike, Quick Sliver to give them all flash, Sentinel to give them all vigilance, and Spinneret Sliver to give them all reach. And then, of course, we have Thrumming Hive Pool from the new set that gives all of our slivers double strike, haste, and generate sliver tokens for us. And there are plenty of other slivers we could be running, but we are running with a $40 budget for this deck. I would have wanted it to be lower, but that was not possible with the slivers I wanted to add in. So here we are. We're going to be getting a board state that is large enough for Betor to trigger at least one, if not multiple, of his abilities. Our opponents are going to be ready and willing to come down and fight a Toughness Matters deck, and we are going to have to say, tough shit, we're not Toughness Matters, we're here to give you a tough game. All right, I'm done making terrible jokes. We're gonna move on to the draw section. Now, Betor gives us some pretty reliable draw, and we have Icon of Ancestry, but we also want some dedicated draw as well. On the combat side of things, Keeper of Fables and Kutzel and Orin Frostfang will give us the ability to draw cards as we do combat stuff with our opponents. Regal Sliver gives us the Monarch, which will also allow us to draw cards, since we should be one of the best decks at engaging in combat. A Phyrexian Arena will give us constant draw throughout a game, and I know there are going to be people who say that Phyrexian Arena is a bad card. I agree. It's not a great card, but in a deck like this that has a commander that is drawing us once at the end of the turn, adding a Phyrexian Arena onto that so we get to draw 2 cards a turn effectively does end up helping us out a ton. Then we have Lifestream's Blessing, so that we can draw a lot of cards based on the power of what's on our board. Our slivers lord power to each other, so that should be pretty easy to make happen. And then we have Collective Unconscious, Camaraderie, and Shamanic Revelation, so that we can instead draw cards based on the number of slivers we have out at any given time. Then we'll run Become the Avalanche as a pseudo-win-con and draw spell to draw us a handful of cards, while also giving all of our creatures +X/+X until end of turn, meaning we should be able to close out the game on a player and then cut the lives of all of our extra opponents in half after we do so. And that does it for all of our draw stuff. Let's go ahead and move into the rest of the deck and see how we're going to be stopping our opponents from winning the game. We are closer to a dedicated aggro deck than normal, so our removal package is going to be fairly scant. However, I have tried to make sure that the removal that's in here does extra stuff. So, we have Binding the Old Gods to blow up non-land permanents. It also can give our creatures Death Touch and search a forest out of our deck. Windgrace's Judgment knocks a card out from each of our opponents, as does Dismantling Wave, as does Grasp of Fate. Then we have Necrotic Sliver to let Sliver sack themselves to destroy anything. Harmonic Sliver, allowing us to destroy any artifacts or enchantments as slivers get on the board, and a D-Spark as a quick way to get rid of problematic cards for a very, very small mana cost. Then we have some board wipes. Decree of Pain to give all of our opponent's creatures the ick and get off the board, and then we draw a ton of cards when we do. Crippling Fear to give all non-slivers -3/-3, and Overwhelming Forces to blow up all of the creatures from exactly one opponent, and then draw cards equal to the amount of creatures that we blow up. This way we always end up having resources after taking our opponent's resources away. As for ramp and mana, well, the most important pieces of ramp we have are Gemhide Sliver and Mana Weft Sliver. Being able to turn all of our slivers into mana dorks helps us out far more than most people would realize. We're also going to run an Arcane Signet because we can't run Nature's Lore and such at this budget, and then we're going to run a Rampant Growth and a Sakura Tribe Elder, a Diligent Farmhand, a Sammy's Curiosity, and a Wayfarer's Bauble to grab basic lands out of the deck. And then a Search for Tomorrow, since it can grab basic lands out of the deck, but we can play it early with its Suspend ability, and the basic lands come into play untapped. Then we have our lands themselves. We are leaning heavier into green and white, so we are running 4 forests and 3 plains respectively, with 2 swamps trailing in the back. We have the fetching lands of Ash Barrens, Terramorphic Expanse, Evolving Wilds, and Deceptive Landscape to filter out our lands as needed. Then we have a Myriad Landscape and Frozen Verge to ramp us if we need in our land slot as well. Frozen Verge notably grabs a forest and a plains, so we can use it to grab a Murmuring Bosk out of the deck, along with a plains card like, oh, I don't know, Radiant Grove, giving us access to all of our colors pretty quickly. We are running a tribal deck, so Unclaimed Territory is here, along with Exotic Orchard, Sandstep Citadel, and Command Tower, with the aforementioned Murmuring Bosk. Then, for Orzhov lands, we are running the tapped Temple of Silence, so we can come into play early, with the untapped Fetid Heath, Tainted Field, Isolated Chapel, Shine Shadow Snarl, and Desolate Mire, bringing up the rear. For our tapped lands in Selesnya, we have Radiant Grove and a Temple of the Plenty, so we have a forest that can be searched in an early game temple. And then we have Canopy Vista, Fortified Village, and Sun Petal Grove as our untapped lands. And finally, for Golgari, a searchable Haunted Mire and a Temple of Malady to come into play early, with Necroblossom Snarl, Twilight Mire, Viridescent Bog, and Tainted Wood being our untapped lands. That does it for everything in the deck that is a land, everything that is in the deck in general. So let's go ahead and go over how to play this. Let's go ahead and take a look at our opening hand and see what we've got available to us. An Adaptive Automaton means that we're going to be able to have our plus power to our Slivers. Might Sliver's doing the same thing. Lancer Sliver gives us first strike, and Muscle Sliver gives us extra power as well. We have 2 temples and a Haunted Mire, so we've got a really slow ramp up with our lands, but I'm willing to keep it because we have all of our colors, and because these are temples, we'll be able to use them to sculpt our hand. So let's go ahead and play that Temple of Malady. Let's look at the top card of our deck. It's a forest. Let's go ahead and keep that so that when we go to our next turn, we can say, here's unclaimed territory, falling slivers. Here's the muscle sliver, past our opponents. Then when we get to the next turn, okay, a clot sliver. We get the regenerative abilities of the slivers there. That's going to be super helpful. Lancer Sliver, I really want Lancer Sliver available to us, but let's get the Adaptive Automaton out right now. All slivers currently have +2/+2. And now we're going to pass to our opponents. Moving into the next turn, let's go ahead and play the Temple of Malady to show our opponents, or not show them, but see that there's a Watcher Sliver there. We're going to hold on to that Watcher Sliver, and then we're going to tap these out and get the Lancer Sliver out so that the slivers have first strike. So we can just attack willy-nilly now, knowing we are going to win practically every single combat. Then when we go to the next turn, let's go ahead and play the forest, and let's get our draw engine online. It's time for Betor. Of course, we have 7, we have 11, and 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 17 toughness on the board right now, so Betor's only going to draw us a card, but that's fine. We can just work with that for the time being. Go to the next turn. Let's go ahead and play the Shine Shadow Snarl, showing them a Haunted Mire. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. We can either play the Clot Sliver or play the Might Sliver. I think the right use of all of our resources is to get the Watcher Sliver and the Clot Sliver out so that we can get regeneration online for a subsequent turn. And that's going to trigger Betor's ability, so let's go ahead and swing out with what we've got, draw an additional card, and then go to the next turn. Now, we get an Orin Frostfang here, which I think is going to be super important for getting a stronger draw engine available to us. So let's go ahead and play the Sandstep Citadel, and let's pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get Orin Frostfang out. Actually, no, I lied. Let's not do Sandstep Citadel, because we may end up needing that mana in case we draw with our Frostfang. Swinging with all of our creatures, it's very unlikely people are going to block our creatures because they have Death Touch and First Strike. So we're just going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to draw 6 cards off of that. And I think we're okay with that. Now, if our opponents have shown that they've got removal, we may hold up this mana so that we can utilize it in a subsequent turn. But if not, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to play the Spinneret Sliver to give all of our stuff reach. So now all of our stuff has First Strike and Reach, and because of Betor, we get to untap all of our creatures, meaning we are very much able to block and protect ourselves at this stage of the game. Betor also draws us 1 additional card, and we're going to discard that Haunted Mire when we do. Let's go to the final turn of the game. We have a Tempered Sliver. Whenever slivers are dealt combat damage, whenever the slivers deal combat damage to a player, they get a 1/1 counter. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are gonna play Might Sliver. Then we're gonna play this Twilight Mire and pay 1, 2, 3. Play Tempered Sliver. Now all of our slivers are gaining 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all gaining +4, +6. Right now, every individual sliver is +4, +6. We've well past gotten what Betor needs to trigger all of his abilities. All of our slivers have First Strike. They all have Death Touch when they attack. And because of how we have everything set up, we're going to draw a ton of cards when we swing. And because we get to untap at the end of our turn with Betor's ability and get his final ability as well, if we kill an opponent with our board, the one who's most likely to have the board wipe, then we get to cut our other opponent's lives in half. So we swing with everything that we can, drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, drawing an additional card at the end of the turn, and then discarding down for turn. And of course, leaving 2 opponents with half of their life where they have to deal with our army of slivers. And I think that's a pretty decent showcase of why slivers and Betor go together very, very well. Now, if you're upgrading this deck, the first thing I would do is go for some MDFCs. The utility the deck can feel like it lacks is basically patched up by having MDFCs in, like Revitalizing Repass to give you some protection, Hagra Mauling, and Fell the Profane to give you ways to deal with your opponent's creatures while still being lands, Agadeem's Awakening to get all of your creatures back later in the game. And since we're already kind of doing that with our MDFCs, why don't we also run an Eerie Ultimatum to double up on that ability in the full power version of the deck? And we can swap out a bunch of the ramp pieces for cards like Farseek, Nature's Lore, and 3 Visits so that we have better access to mana fixing. And let's go ahead and pump up the types of slivers we have access to if we extend the deck's budget past $40. A Siphon Sliver will be able to give us Lifelink, as can an Essence Sliver. A Hatchery Sliver will give us Replicate, so we have access to more Sliver tokens. We get more Sliver tokens as well by using Lazotep and the Brood Sliver. And let's give our slivers a better time in combat by using Bone Scythe Sliver for Double Strike, Venom Sliver for Death Touch, and Pulmonic Sliver so we have access to flying. Finally, let's go ahead and have Toxin Sliver to give a pseudo Death Touch ability to our cards as well. And remember, the Lifesteal from the Essence Sliver actually does work with Siphon Sliver's ability. That lifelink stacks because the Essence Sliver has not had updated Oracle text. So, that said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I think you're going to have a fun time with this. It's a nice, crouching Betor hidden sliver deck, let's call it. And for $40, it's not a really bad option in terms of budget decks. But I do want to let you know, if you are planning on picking up this deck, please use the link that is in the description in order to pick this deck up through Mana Pool. And that's not the image I'm supposed to be using. This is the one I'm supposed to be using. So Mana Pool is a one-stop shop that will give you access to sealed product as well as singles and any other type of card game product you need for Magic the Gathering. Sponsor the channel, and you can get $5 off your first order if you do your first order through my code. If you do that, let me know. I'd love to know how your experience with Mana Pool goes, and I really like them as a sponsor for the channel. Also, one other thing, one very, very important thing on top of all of that. If you have not already picked up the channel playmat over at Fourth Wall, please consider doing so, as it's only going to be available for another 4 days. End of that, when next Monday comes around, we are going to be having a brand new channel playmat in that spot, and I'm hoping that it's going to be around the same time that the channel hits 10,000 subscribers, since I kind of want to use that new channel playmat to celebrate the channel getting to 10,000 subscribers. I'm hoping those things will coincide with each other. Here is my hope. That said, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you being here, and if you're going to be at MagicCon, let me know so I can see you there.